Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 5:30. I'm going to call this town select board meeting to order. It is as I said, 5:30 Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Any changes or additions to the agenda? Yeah. No. Community comments. If we know the protocol, come on up, introduce yourself. If you have any comments. I have one online. Do I have anything in the audience first? Go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Maggie Cleary. I'm a Morristown resident and I also work at the library. And I am actually kind of here speaking in that professional capacity tonight. Mostly just to make an announcement and an invitation to you all here. It's just up to you guys, but kind of for everyone here. The library and MAC, the Morristown Alliance of Culture and Commerce, are partnering on a civic engagement initiative. Essentially, we're calling it the Morristown Civic Project. That kind of grew out of a visit we had from the Vermont Secretary of State's office at the library in June, which few of you attended, where they presented our Civic Health Index, our state's first ever Civic Health Index. So this is basically measurements of how we're performing as a state based on public meeting, government trust and access, cultural, I guess I have the list here, or do I? But basically, like, I can read them all to you. Volunteerism and donating, political engagement, community and social context, cultural access and engagement, media trust and access, and government trust and access. So these are the things that the state was measuring, kind of engaging how we're doing as on the statewide level as far as civic health and engagement. So coming out of that meeting, we've been having conversations with the Vermont Secretary of State's office about how this work plays out in the state and like kind of like what are the next steps? Where do we go from here? How do we increase civic engagement and build local democracy? And kind of the idea being that this is the kind of work that really needs to happen on the local level in order to really have the most impact. So coming out of that, the library is partnering with MAC to kind of do our best as a town to work on boosting communication, civic engagement amongst our people. We have a number of ideas, things about ways to create better dialogue and just alternative types of dialogue so that community conversations can be happening in this room as well as outside of this room, and ways to get more people involved in local government and caring about our community, better chances for people to volunteer, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of exciting potential and things to work on. And we really encourage anybody who wants to get involved in this work to do so. So you can reach out to me at the library. You can reach out to Carol at MAC. And our kickoff event is a pretty exciting thing on November 19th. Thank you. It's a Wednesday evening and it's going to be at the library, and we're having a special guest named Susan Clark is coming to kind of, give us a little rah-rah to get started on this. Susan is a local democracy expert. If you're into this kind of stuff, she's sort of known for that around the state. She wrote a book called Slow Democracy about 10 years ago. That's basically about like how we work through how we make decisions amongst our people in our communities. So she's going to come and talk to us all about, things that have worked in other towns and even around the country, and kind of get us excited about the potential to work on better communication, better dialogue, and all those good things that I think most of us support. So please come, those of you who are in this room are people that are already engaging, and that's wonderful. But if you have ideas about how to get more people excited about joining us, by all means, come and participate.
Thank you, Maggie.
It's going to be at the library at 5:30. Probably it'll be like 5:30 to 7-ish. And that event will mostly be Susan giving a presentation and kind of a way for us to sort of like collect other humans who are interested in talking about this kind of work. And from there, we'll be doing hopefully a series of monthly dialogues, community conversations in different places around town. But really, there's a lot of potential for all kinds of ideas. So if you have ideas about how to boost civic health and, communicate better as a town, we are very open to hearing them.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up with my question of several weeks.
Yeah, name, please.
Oh, yes, of course. Ed Lowenton, Morristown. When we had our discussions about the Route 100 project, which has kind of subsided in the news lately, I guess there's nothing exciting happening. I don't think we should get too far away from that discussion. I think of all the issues the town faces, that is by far the worst and with the most serious consequences, and not just because of the mining. I think it's just another on a long series of disastrous misuse of town land that's gone on for the whole 10 years that I've started to take an interest in this stuff. I've been to hearings, I've been to this, I've done research on it. I've looked up how transactions and these kind of transfers get started, the politics on it, and it's too doggone bad. So when we had that discussion at one of them, I asked you, Don, do you happen to know the legality, the charter issues, constitutionality, all this stuff of having the select board assume the right to summarily reverse a decision of the Development Review Board when it's that bad? And I don't just mean allowing the mining. I mean the zoning designation in the first place. That should have been commercial. That should never have been industrial to allow that sort of stuff. I have a friend in New Jersey who's been on the various boards, including the select board. He's an attorney and he teaches civics. And he expressed astonishment that the state of Vermont has that sort of thing going on, that you can appoint people, they make decisions, and then you cannot remove them if their decisions are bad enough. What it should be going on in any government system is that the voters have the closest possible relationship to the decisions made. And you can unelect a select board when the time comes, when voting happens. It may happen gradually, but we just saw a big example of that in the last couple of years. We had a horrible select board not that long ago, and we have a pretty good one right now. Get it close to the voters, and that would be a start. In that, worst comes to worst, there can be petitions, there can be all sorts of things. So I asked if you had looked into it. I haven't lost interest, as you notice. Okay.
I will get back to you.
Huh?
I will get back to you.
Well, and I didn't want to just correspond with you, which I could have done. I want all these comments made in public. I wish people would make all their comments in public.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ed. Yeah, it's not an agenda item, so I don't want to go very far with this.
So no one group of people make decisions in this. So planning made a zoning recommendation that then went to the select board and went to the trustees. So it wasn't just a small group of people. That's the clarification.
Okay. When something bad really happens, there has to be someone to put a stop to it.
I just want to make
Yeah.
clear the process.
Yeah.
I understand.
Anybody else in the audience? I see Kathy's hand up online. Just want to make sure there's anybody else in the room. Go ahead, Kathy's iPad.
Hi, Kathy Chafee, Morrisville. 70 Copley Avenue, if you want to make that a point in this. This is a concern. This is a concern that's a big concern for my family. I sent Judy, well, first of all, a couple of weeks ago, I called the town zoning guy. I have pictures of dead rats in my backyard. My husband went out 2 weeks ago at 4:30 in the morning to go to work. And he said there was a rat crossing the road the size of a skunk. I've talked to Judy, I've emailed Judy. It's supposed to be a big concern that they're looking into. And I haven't heard back from anybody. I do have 2 small dogs in my backyard. I shouldn't be finding dead rats, and they are rats, and Judy has pictures. She said that they would be looking into it. There shouldn't be just a looking into it. We should really talk about the problem. Because if there's a problem at my house, there's a problem at the park, there's a problem at the school, and there's a problem at the dog park. And I don't think we need to be a big city, because we actually are not. I'm not going to let this problem go to sleep. So, I know you can't do anything about it tonight, but I do expect a phone call back of what we're going to do with the concern of the rats. They're not mice. I know the difference. Lived in this V for 25 years and I've never had this problem. I talked to the exterminator at the school one day and he knows where they're coming from, but he can't tell me. So I told the zoning administrator that. His comment was, I've had complaints about this. I actually had to call the school myself and then turn around and give the town the information of who the exterminator is. Now, the exterminator is not going to tell me because I'm just this person on the street, but he knows where they're coming from. And quote unquote, he told me that the prices were too high and the people were not going to treat them. So a little problem is going to turn into this big, huge problem. So if any of you that know me, know that some things I'm not going to let up on, and this is going to be one of them.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. I'm looking around the room. I think you've been heard loud and clear, and it might be something for our health officer to look into.
And that's the zoning officer, correct?
It happens to be the same person, yeah, but we'll, we've heard you. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to hear that as well.
So do I expect a phone call back with what our plans or process or how we feel we're going to handle this? Or how is that going to be an outcome for me? My husband won't even let me keep the garage door open because he's freaked out that they're going to be coming into our house. This is a very big concern for us.
We'll look into this. We will look into this.
So I still am not getting, well, somebody.
I'm not sure who's going to get back to you right now, but we'll look into this. Yeah.
Okay, if not, I'm going to be here in 2 weeks again.
Okay.
In the concerns.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye.
Would you agree that's something the health officer could look into?
He already has.
He already has.
We've already reached out to the school. What I didn't reach out directly, but from what I was told.
I was waiting to hear that mistake.
Oh, okay.
But it's meeting.
Okay. It is being looked into. Great. Any other comments? Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to move on. Minutes. We have minutes from October 20th, 2025. I'd entertain a motion. Go ahead.
So 10/20/25.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I think she got it. Any comments, discussion regarding the minutes of October 20? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from October 20th, 2025, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you. New business. Number one, our superintendent, our highway superintendent is here, Jordan St. Ange, and he's here to give us a recap of the summer work and in particular to talk about the long-term projects and the improvements that have happened around town. And I, for one, just want to say before you get started, there's been a lot. I've seen a lot going on around town, and I'm very appreciative of that. And many of my neighbors are as well. So with that, I'll let you take over.
Thank you. So this recap is of the infrastructure improvements completed by the highway department this summer. That does not include all of our day-to-day maintenance tasks. So as I go through this list, please feel free to ask questions. Starting with our gravel roads, our focus was ride quality and flood resilience. Drainage, shape, and compaction are the three most important things for us to achieve that. So we started the summer off a little rough with some storm repair on May 25th. A thunderstorm severely damaged 18 roads. We hauled over 125 loads of material to repair those damages and at the same time make the areas more flood resilient. That cost us about 2 weeks of the construction season.
Excuse me? Who is it that says turn off cell phones at the beginning of meetings? It's me. Sorry. Sorry, Jordan.
That's all right. So after the storm repairs were completed, we went right to ditching and stone lining. We did about 4.5 lane miles of stone line ditches this year and 2 lane miles of hydro seeded ditches. That total of 6.5 miles of ditching included sections of Cody Hill, Cole Hill, Fitzgerald, Magoon, Lower Elmore Mountain Road, Samoset, Churchill, Bliss, and Spring Hill. $25,000 of this work was covered by grants and aid. We have $42,000 in grants and aid secured for next year for the same type of work.
Right.
We also debermed over 44 lane miles of road, and we do that to allow the water to get off the road into our ditches. We use a new technique for this, using a grader to pull the shoulder material into the road and then a loader to clean it up. That allowed us to do a better job, get rid of more of the berm and cover, excuse me, and cover more ground. Below is a list of the roads that we deburned. It's a pretty long one, so I won't read all those. We replaced 16 culverts this year, including 1 on Cottage Street, 1 on AB, 4 on Cody Hill, 2 on Moran Loop, 1 on Upper Elmore Mountain Road, 1 on Lawrence Farm, 2 on Cole Hill, 1 on Lyle McKee, 1 on Churchill, 1 on Gouts, and 1 on Sterling Valley. 3 of these replacements were covered by the Better Roads grant, which was for $18,300. We hope to secure that grant again for next year.
Great.
All this ditching and deberming and upgrading of culverts has significantly improved our road network's drainage, making them more flood resilient. But this will be an ongoing effort for several years to come. There's a lot more ditching to be done and a lot more culverts to be replaced. As far as crowning, to address the shape, we added inexpensive slope gauges to our graders. By using the slope gauges and adding material where needed, we achieved a 4 to 6% crown on nearly all of our gravel roads. That shape helps the road shed water quickly, and it reduces washouts, potholes, and it helps in mud season too, and keeps all that stuff from forming. As far as chloride, we upped our chloride application to around 750 gallons per mile. The recommended application rate is closer to 1,000 gallons per mile. And that's the main tool we use to achieve compaction, making our gravel road smoother for longer, reducing how often we need to grade, and minimizing dust. We'd like to see that application rate increase in years to come, but it is limited by our budget with how much chloride we can put out. Neighboring communities, including Wolcott, Hyde Park, Stone, and Johnson, have added rubber tire rollers to the back of their graders with great success. That gets more compaction immediately and helps shape the road and prevents the wheel ruts forming by traffic. It also allows for grading during smaller weather windows, whereas we rely on traffic to give our roads compaction, which takes time. That roller gives you compaction right after your grade. So when it rains before compaction is achieved, the roads deteriorate. So we hope to outfit our next grader with one of those rubber tire rollers on the back.
Can I ask, are those significantly expensive or?
They're-
minor?
They're significantly expensive, and it's one of those things where you really need to order your grader to fit it, to fit. And our old John Deere grader is a little too old for us to retrofit, and it's due to be replaced anyways. Then the Volvo grader that we have is obsolete. They don't make Volvo graders anymore, so we wouldn't be able to get the parts to make it happen. So retrofitting is kind of not a cost-effective option for that.
Thank you.
Yep. So in total, our team in the Cochrane Road Garage, led by Foreman Scott Lange, completed 6.5 miles of ditching, over 44 miles of deberming, and replaced 16 culverts, reestablished crown on all of our gravel roads. So I'd like to thank them for all their hard work and dedication over the summer. They got a lot done. So
yeah,
very grateful for all of them.
Thank you from us as well. It has, as I said earlier, it has not gone unnoticed.
So onto the village and the sidewalks. So in the village, our focus was making our sidewalks ADA compliant and regaining the ability to maintain them year round. Our team worked diligently to do spot panel replacements around town and totaled over 400 feet of rough trip hazard sidewalk replaced. Some of those areas included Route 12 or Elmore Street, Congress, Lower Main, Upper Main, Portland, Foss, Jersey Way, and Washington Highway. And all that work was 100% in-house crews doing it, ripping them out, pouring back new. We also replaced 33 ADA detectable warning devices. Those are the metal plates at the beginning and ends of our sidewalks that aid the visually impaired. We renewed paint on all our crosswalks in town, and we added 11 crosswalks that have not been painted in the past. We completely replaced the sidewalks on Court Street and East High Street, which were so rough that we couldn't plow them in the winter. So Court Street was 440 feet of sidewalk and 330 feet of granite curb. East High was 220 of sidewalk and 220 of curb, totaling 660 feet of sidewalk and 550 feet of granite curb. So we utilized a contractor to place the curb and pour the sidewalk. The town crews did all the removal of the old sidewalk, replaced all the inadequate sub base. There were some areas where it heaved pretty bad and there was some clay in there. So we dug it out and hauled in gravel and made a good sub base so it'll be long lasting. Town crews hauled all the material in and out, and we rough graded the area. So after the sidewalk was replaced, we then went back with town crews and we backfilled and seeded all the lawns that got ripped up, patched all the asphalt, and repaired all the residents' walkways that came down and met it. So in 2024, we requested bids to replace sidewalks on Court Street alone, and those bids were between $175,000 and $200,000. By doing all this work to support the contractor on this project, the cost was reduced to $104,891, and it included East High Street.
Nice.
So the town crew did a great job of again, stretching our dollars when we had to spend it on a contractor.
Great.
So sidewalk replacements will be an ongoing effort for several years to come. And we have secured a $75,000 grant for work next year on replacing sidewalks. So in total, the village crew led by foreman Matt Frederick replaced over 1,000 feet of sidewalk and brought most all of our crosswalks into ADA compliance. So I'd like to thank them for all their hard work and dedication in the village. Paving, we just wrapped up our paving project for the year. The focus of that was ride quality, flood resistance, resilience, and salt reduction. As I've said before, those rough roads take more salt. So the more we can get them paved, the more we can reduce our salt usage. So Stagecoach was 1.1 miles, and that received a 1/2 inch shim and 1.5 inch overlay. We received a Class 2 roadways grant for that, in the amount of $134,675. Richmond Street was 520 feet. That got a 1 inch shim and 1.5 inch overlay. And then Bridge Street was a mill and fill on the Favreau Bridge and at the intersection at the Bijou. And then in between was a 3/4 inch paver shim overlay. The portion on Favreau Bridge was part of a structures grant that we received in the amount of $200,000. And the portion at the Bijou intersection will be paid for by Morrisville Water and Light due to the water main break over the winter. Cody Hill was about 0.7 miles, and that received a full depth reclamation. We put back 2.5 inches of base and 1.5 inches of wearing course. Walton Road was a little bit of a mix. The first 3/4 of a mile of it got a 1/2 inch shim and 1.5 inch overlay. And then the second 3/4 mile got a full depth reclamation, 2.5 inch base, and 1.5 inch wearing course. Shoulder gravel has already been completed on all sections by our town crew. Stop bars and painting stalls have been painted by the village crew. And center line painting was completed just this morning. I was out there with L&D today, getting that all painted. It looks nice.
Yep.
So in total, we paved 3.8 miles of road this year. While it's a substantial improvement to our 36.8 miles of paved road, we still have 15.5, give or take, miles of pavement that are in poor to very poor condition. So we made a sizable dent in it. You know, we got some grants to stretch our dollar, but there's a lot more paving yet to be done. So talking about funding for a little bit. For our funding, we focus on maximizing and supplementing our current budget. The use of contractor hauling for sand and gravel added 8 weeks to our construction season. And that was crucial to accomplish all the ditching, deberming, and sidewalk replacements. So that was a huge help having contractors hauling out of the pit. The use of the Bridge and Infrastructure Fund is what we use to pay for the paving and the sidewalks, and that is obviously huge as well. We did receive several grants and the award totaling $495,225. So the Better Roads Grant Category B, that was when I mentioned with the culvert upgrades, that was for $18,300. The Class 2 Roadways Grant that we used to pave Stagecoach, that was $134,675. And then the Structures Grant that we received was for $200,000, and that was to pave the Favreau Bridge and to paint it in the beginning of 2026.
Okay.
We received the V-Trans Small Scale Bicycle and Pedestrian Grant. That one was for $75,000. That was what I mentioned we'll have for sidewalks next year. And that's to replace over 800 feet of sidewalk on Upper Main Elmore Street in 2026. That's only 4 feet wide. It's not ADA compliant. It's all blown apart, significant trip hazards. So that'll be good. Grants and aid fiscal year 25, we got $25,250. That was used to ditch and stone line hydrologically connected segments. In 26, we secured this grant again, and it'll be $42,000 next year. That again will be to ditch and stone line hydrologically connected sections. So the adoption of the town road and bridge standards that the select board adopted earlier this year, that saved us $36,834 in match on these grants. So that was also a big help. In summary, our highway department has made substantial amount of improvements to our infrastructure this summer and brought nearly $500,000 in grants in. These improvements have made our network of roads and sidewalks far more user-friendly and flood resilient, but there's lots of work left to be done. I believe we need to continue these elevated efforts for at least the next 5 years to really get back to where things are in really good shape.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you so much for all that you've done in a relatively short period of time to move things forward. I know when I first got on the board, highways seemed to be the #1 issue and what people were talking about and voicing concerns about continually. And at least, I'll jinx things, but at least recently I've gotten very, very little. I've gotten no complaints, just the opposite. So I really appreciate that. And the work looks great. And you know, the things that you're doing here maybe they haven't addressed every complaint in every part of town, obviously, because we can't get that all done 1 year, but you're addressing the complaints that I've gotten, especially with the gravel roads, the deberming and the crowning of the roads. The crowning is just so obvious now. So whoever's doing that work on the grader is doing a great job. Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
I think you have done. You walked into a mess and have done great work. Just looking forward, are these all state grants?
Yes.
Just looking at funding, okay.
Yeah, none of them are federal, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, the, just because there was a thing that came out that we're not gonna be getting all of the FEMA money. So I'm just wondering if there's any anticipation of not being able to get road improvement money because of what's going on at the federal level, or you're feeling confident that it won't be an issue?
Well, so these ones that I mentioned for next year, we have signed grant agreements on them.
Okay,
So unless those are broken or something like that, but those are signed. These aren't speculative. They've been
Okay.
signed and they're ready for us to work on.
and you think it's mostly state money?
Yeah, it's definitely all state money. Yeah, none of these are federal grants.
Okay,
If I may add to that, since Jordan's been here, he's been incredibly aggressive about applying for grants. He's kept me in the loop when we haven't received responses from the state. Gotten on the phone, so we could get responses for the bridge specifically. And year over year, the amount of grant funds we brought in for road and bridge and sidewalk infrastructure, it's a significant increase.
oh, yeah.
Now, we've locked in what's been listed here.
Mhm.
Jordan will be just as aggressive. The next few months applying for grants. But all indications are as a V-Trans is being impacted by federal budget decisions. And I think they're already projecting that, again, for the second year, the state itself will be paving, I can't quote the mileage of highway and state roads, but not enough to maintain their minimum standards. So I think it's likely that, we'll be aggressive in applying. We might not be as successful next year based upon, you know, the macro situation of the federal government, but we will continue to aggressively pursue funding.
Thank you.
George?
Other than to echo the tremendous appreciation I have for Jordan and his crew's work over the past, ever since you've been here, Jordan. We've seen a miraculous change in progress, and I appreciate it, as I'm sure the rest of the community does as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Go right ahead.
I just saw a bunch of work that was going on over at the Creamery Road building. Was that on us or was that Monash repair?
The man lift that was over there.
Yeah, and there was a wall that was damaged and was that normal maintenance by Monash or was that on us just?
Everything that they were doing with the man lift today, they didn't even tell us about that. So that was all ongoing maintenance. We did have a truck that bumped the wall there that had to have some of the brickwork redone.
Yeah,
So that's on us.
yeah, that's pretty minor.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, yeah. Right, thank you.
Leah?
Just thank you, and please thank your crew. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Come on up to the microphone. The microphone's in front of Jordan. Or can you take it out of the stand? There you go.
Cody Hill. First of all, Jordan, thank you very much. You've done an excellent job. As far as SD Ireland goes, I would not have them back. They did a terrible job on Walton Road, Cody Hill, and the Stagecoach Road. You're a paver, so you know what they've done. The middle of the road is at best put together, overlapped. Hopefully it lasts. I think as soon as the plow gets under that, it's all going to start coming up. I don't know what it looks great. It rides great right now. I appreciate it. I think they did a terrible job and they shouldn't come back. That's my opinion. So I would like to see how long this paving job is going to last. I don't think it's going to hold up. Is there any guarantees on that?
Yeah, with 1 year.
A 1-year warranty. Okay. I just don't think it's going to hold up. We're going to be right back in the same boat.
Obviously, Tony, I hope your prediction's not right, but you're right. We're
just look at it.
going to find out.
You
Yeah,
ride that road all the time.
I do. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
The yellow line hides it all now. So good job on the, I don't,
You do want to have a lap for your compaction. I don't think, but there are some other.
I'm not a paver and I don't know, but there's plenty of just unprofessional job. I think. Who'd you work for when you paved? But very professional. And Whitcomb too. But I know you can't probably get those people.
Yeah, Pike was the second to lowest bidder.
I don't think it's always about the bid, but just keep that in mind because
Yep.
I don't think we got a good job for, I don't know, what did that cost anyhow?
Before grant 692, no. Yeah, 692 before grants, 134 and grants brought it down to 557.
I don't understand any of that, but I just think could have been a lot better job.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes. What? Kathy, I see your hand. 1 second, please.
Jerry Throne. I'm not sure what Tony's talking about, but I did notice that at the center of the road where one side was paved and the other one came up to it, there's a joint there. And in some places, one side is higher than the other. So if that's what the concern is, and Jordan can decide if this is something that should be done, but those joints can be sealed. And if they are going to be sealed, maybe they should be done at the paver's expense.
Yep. Yeah, thank you. I believe that is what Tony's referring to as well. There's no hand up there anymore. Okay. Any other comments before I move on the agenda? Okay, Jordan, once again, you've gotten lots of accolades. I'll just say thank you again and thank you very much. And as somebody said, pass on our appreciation to the entire crew.
Will do. Thank you.
Moving on, number 2. So Economic and Community Development Director is here at Adele Taplin to give us an update and let us know about some of the grants that we've received.
I will start with some of the events over the summer and fall. The 4th of July event, we had over 50 parade participants and the streets were filled the whole way. One of the first challenges I was faced with was getting vendors for the evening event, where the band and the fireworks. Fortunately, the food vendor that was scheduled to be there was unable to both fill their responsibilities of their own restaurant and be on site for the 4th of July. But I was able to get 13 food vendors, including 4 food vendors for that evening. We also had a total of sponsors of 6 event sponsors and 4 annual sponsors. I'll talk about our sponsorship program a little bit later. The fireworks and music attendance was estimated to be 800 to 1,000 people, which everyone was just raved about. One of the vendors their feedback was, I didn't know if I was going to do very well at this event, but I was pleasantly surprised. So it was a good overall event. The summer music series, which was 7 weeks long, we averaged anywhere from 250 to 300 people. The final one was the Morristown Food Co-op's corn roast, and there was probably close to 500 people there. It was well attended. Over the course of the summer, we had 17 total food vendors. 17 total vendors. Weekly, we had 1 to 3 food vendors, thanks to the Morrisville Euro Soccer Club for being a great supporter of that event. It was wonderful. We had 17 event sponsors plus our 4 annual sponsors. For Oktoberfest, we had attendance estimates. MAC did account. It averaged probably about 1,800 people throughout the day. Total vendors, we had 56 vendors, included nonprofits, businesses, entertainment, activities, and food. We created a new partnership with the Family Center. They assisted in one of our entertainment areas, which is the Kids Zone. We had a total of sponsors of 13 sponsors and plus the 4 annual. The feedback was great about this event as well. The Lamoille Valley Dance Academy said, we had a record number of attendees to our LVDA presentation. The studio was packed. Soulmate Brewing said, thank you for putting on the best Oktoberfest since I've owned the building. And I had a vendor who said I had a wonderful day yesterday. So a little bit about the event sponsorship. Last year, they changed to a program which allowed businesses to become annual sponsors, which covered all of the events, or you could be a single event sponsors. Overall, what that's generated was $26,950 in event sponsorship, which is an increase of $13,575 from 2024. The events in general are paying for themselves. So between income earned from sponsorships and vendor fees in 2025, we are in the plus of $2,557. So they're covering for themselves. Great. A little bit about my marketing strategy. I've submitted both the Summer Music Series and the Oktoberfest to the Vermont Chamber of Commerce Summer Signature Event Consideration. This is a very highly coveted thing, so I'm hoping that one of them is received. But what it gives you is a feature in the Vermont Inspiration Guide, an event listing, inclusion in their website, and then features in a newsletter and social media. I've also prepared a broader approach to the marketing with press releases, print, and radio. I'm working with Radio Vermont for 2026 to be an in-kind sponsorship, which would put them on all of our materials, but also would give us ads for all of the events. We have been posted on all the travel and tourism calendars online, increased social media posts, and using our partners and groups and vendors to help share that word. Facebook views, we've since June, we're up 12%. Interaction is up 8%, and then follows are up 113%. We've added 168 new followers. Our website activity has also increased. July 4th page was up 4.59%. It actually was the second most visited site or page within our site. The Morrisville Live was up 3.26%. Rocktoberfest was up 3.18%. Their page rankings were 2, 4, and 5 in overall views. As most of you know, we received our downtown designation. So that is a wonderful added thing for us. Only kind words from the committee, and then it was a unanimous decision. One board member stated we were not only back, but we were back with a splash. Also been busy with some grants applications, and then some that were started before I came along have been awarded. The Vorak Community Grant. We received the Vermont Community Action Team grant, the Green Mountain Fund, Vermont Community Foundation grant, Amy Wade grant, VTrans Bicycle and Pedestrian Scoping grant. This is a connectivity improvement study we've received. We're going to sign the agreement as soon as it comes back to us. We also have the Department of Buildings and General Services and Municipal Energy grant, and ARPA grant for public and private stormwater partnership for a total of $5,771.
571.
I'm getting caught on this one. 571,678. There's applications have been submitted for the 2026 Historic Preservation Grant for the Noise House Museum. That will cover a portion of the restoration and repairs that need to exist. The second part of that will be the Buildings and Communities Grant, which will cover the additional repair and restoration. We've also applied today for the Municipal Planning Grant. That's a consortium with Johnson. It's for the Asset Inventory and Capital Improvement Plan. The amount was not available at the time that I completed this form, but the amount is $36,397, and the project amount estimated at $42,820. We'll also be applying for the preliminary review for the Recreational Trail Program grant. We don't have an amount yet. We're going to be working on that. It's a pre-app that's due at the end of the month, and that grant's up to $50,000.
This is all great news, Adele. I think this is what members of the community and certainly members of this board have been wanting to hear about for a while. It's all this grant money that's coming in, and thank you very much for all that. I know I've attended some of these summer programs, especially the summer music series and or Oktoberfest, and they're just great events. So thank you very much for all the work that you've done. Others?
I just want to thank you personally for Morrisville Farmers Market. I reached out to Adele and asked her to let folks know about our November 22nd, and I got a lot of great response. And I will say I got one call that the gentleman said that he had done Rocktoberfest and hadn't been to Morristown because he had his doubts, but was so pleasantly pleased with how Rocktoberfest was run that he wanted to come to my event. Unfortunately, he's eliminated November 22nd. But it was great to hear. So I personally want to thank you, and the fact that I'm getting a lot more, I'm getting support from the town. I think there's more collaboration, and I'm thrilled that you're here. Thank you.
George?
Yeah, I just thank you enough. I mean, again, following Jordan's efforts on grants, you are right there doing the exact same thing, and it's what we need and very much appreciate.
Leo?
I'm a fellow grant writer and events. Congratulations, events cover themselves. That's fantastic. And thank you for all the work. I know it's a lot of detailed work. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And a MoCo employee who helps out with the corn roast. Never hurts, that's right.
It is a good partnership, I have to say. Between Adele and Carol and Mac, it's been a very good partnership. And the co-op folks have appreciated that.
It's just so nice to see all this coming together. And as you said, downtown designation is now in place, and we're hoping for some good news there too, coming in the future. Yeah.
Just being an event producer, walking in July and taking over is probably one of the most difficult things in the world to do. And I'm absolutely blown away with how you were able to step in and not only run the event, but take them to the next level. So kudos to you.
Thank you, Laura. Any comments from, Brent?
Just to build on what Laura said, I've been so appreciative to Adele. She did come in July, and we had a summer camp to stand up with our former facility not being available. We had to make pivot on some staffing. She stepped up for that, was still able to perform as she's shared here. So I want to thank her, and just give her kudos and just look forward to your continued progress. I also want to thank Mac and Carol. When I came on board, had some great direct conversations. Carol was very direct with me about, wanting to make changes with Mac, make more clarity between the town and Mac. I was on board with all that. And I also shared some feedback about what I'd like to see from Mac. And Mac and Carol were instrumental to that downtown designation. And LCPC was really instrumental as well. And multiple staff, Gail is no longer here, but she did a lot of initial legwork. So just really, those are the types of things that really excite me as a leader, because you can see silos being broken down, and people coming together to work. So just kudos to everybody on that downtown designation, because it was not, it's quite an application. How many pages?
140 plus.
140 plus, and we kept submitting to the state, asking for feedback, getting feedback. So
Very supportive.
kudos Matt, kudos LCPC, Dell, and other staff people, multiple staff people that worked on that application.
And years in the process.
How many?
At least a couple of years in the process of getting downtown designation back. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Mac. I didn't say that before, but thank you, Carol. Other comments before we move on? Okay. Adele, I think you're still on the agenda here. So we have the Noise House. We've talked about the Noise House a few times tonight. We've got the Building Community Grants application letter of support that Adele is presenting to us. And I think you are looking for a motion tonight, some action taken on this. So in your packets, board members, you've had a chance to read this. I don't know if there's any questions for Adele at this point. Or Adele, do you have anything you want to start with?
As I mentioned previously, this will be the second grant that we'll be applying for, and it's because of the scope of restoration and repair work that it wasn't all covered in the first grant. So this just covers the additional.
And how much money is this?
This one is 14. Yeah.
14,000?
14,000, and the town match should be 14,000.
Okay, great. And we've talked about the Noise House many, many, many times and what dire need it has. Great, thank you. Questions from the board?
You can just, and how much are we looking at after this? Because it was pretty significant.
So of all the project estimates that were provided between the historic preservation grant, which would be a $40,000 project, plus this $28,000 project, that would take care of all of the estimated repairs and restoration.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great.
Should we get it? There is a possibility that it would be that either one of them could just do a portion of that, because we know that's what's happening. But
that's great. It's
dependent on, but it does cover what is estimated for past repairs.
Oh, that's
Other comments? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve, the letter of recommendation. Motion to approve and authorize the, select board chair to sign the letter of support for the town of Morristown's application to the Building Communities Grant BCG programs for the Noyes House Music.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion by Laura and a second by George. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Okay.
That would be unanimous. Thank you very much, Adele. Let's see, next we have another guest here tonight who's familiar to us, Dennis. Dennis has a report on the Morristown Cemetery Association. Welcome, Dennis.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Okay, I am listed under new business, but this is actually a follow-up. I believe it was June. I was here before reporting on Morristown Cemetery Association. At the fall meeting of Morristown Cemetery Association held on October 28th, the members present voted unanimously to dissolve the association effective December 15th, 2025. We feel that keeping up with the increasing state regulations concerning burial procedures, cemetery operations, finances, and other categories has become too complicated for a volunteer group. We feel there are options for a more efficient professional operation. We have stabilized the financial picture, and we feel we are turning over a sound financial package as required by our bylaws. We hope to be involved in the transition. We thank the town administration, the town clerk's office staff, finance, and highway departments who have helped us over the years. The town's relatively new sexton, Mike Buchanan, is doing a great job learning the system and working with families, and we hope he will stay on. Spalding Property Management has maintained our grounds for several years, and we recommend them continuing. I would like to read a statement that we passed at that meeting. As we, the current members of Morristown Cemetery Association, turn the responsibilities of MCA cemeteries over to the town of Morristown, we wish to express our concern about the future. We hope that the current select board and subsequent boards of the town of Morristown will finally take an interest in the well-being of the cemeteries. To us, the cemeteries, sacred resting places of our ancestors, are as important to the town as any town department and deserves the same dedication. Our current sexton, Mike Buchanan, is doing an excellent job on what he was hired to do. We feel he nor any sexton cannot be single-handedly responsible for all cemetery concerns. We hope you will consider a second sexton or at least an assistant, if not some type of commission. We hope you will honor the monies we have dedicated to specific projects and consider projects we suggest for improving the cemeteries. We offer to be involved in the period of transition and a source of reference for years to come. We are not going anywhere. We still will be driving past and spending time in our cemeteries and will not be afraid to express concerns. And this was signed by myself, by my wife, who is endowment secretary, by Jane Payne, our treasurer, and Denise Mayo, who is a trustee. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dennis. As we said in June, thank you very much for all the time and effort and work that you've put into taking care of those cemeteries. We do really appreciate it. And I, for one, have heard very clearly what you are recommending for the future. And I know I've talked to Brent about this a little bit. He and I and Judy spoke about this today, and there are some considerations in there that we need to consider going forward. And driving around town, it's I agree with you. I think our cemeteries are some of our most important spots in town, and for rather obvious reasons. So I don't think we need to take any action, but this is mostly an FYI. Brent?
I'd just like to thank Dennis and the Cemetery Commission. They've just been outstanding to work with. I'm personally very sad. That they're dissolving. I've told that to Dennis on many occasions, but I also told him that I understand. He's just he and that group of dedicated people are just incredible. This town is so lucky to have people that are so dedicated. Dennis is being modest. They're turning over the finances. They're in tip-top shape. We will respect everything that you've reserved for special projects. And I just can't sing enough praise. He's right. He does come to me with concerns, but he does it in such a dignified and kind way. And just can't show enough respect for what he's done over the last many years. You and everybody on the commission. So personally, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
Question, are we gonna schedule this for a discussion on how to move forward?
I believe we are.
Is there a timeline? Is this suppressing or?
December 15th is when they're dissolving. So by December 15th, I'd like some guidance from the select board. I have some personal opinions. I think where the town is losing historical knowledge by loss of a commission, but it's hard to find volunteers. So if we could find people to be cemetery commissioners, that would be ideal, but is it realistic? And I've had conversations with Dennis. I don't mean to get out in front of the select board, but we do need another sexton, especially with their dissolving. So I'll be coming to you with options and sharing what I recommend, and then looking for your direction. But because we're dissolving December 15th doesn't mean that we have to have everything in place by then. We just have to be moving forward so that for early spring we're ready to move forward with what they've kept in such amazing shape.
Yeah. Not counting Pleasant View, we have 7 cemeteries.
8 total. Yeah.
Not including Pleasant. Right, yeah. That's an exercise for some of us just to try and remember where all 7 are.
Don't really know where you so.
Other questions, comments?
Just Dennis, thank you to you, your wife, Jane, Denise, for years of service. And appreciation to the fact that how you're helping us transition this. Transition is a very challenging thing at times. And the 4 of you, your 4 willing, or each of you willingness to participate in that transition. certainly will make it go more smoothly. For the betterment of the town and the betterment of the cemeteries, and thank you for that as well.
Okay, anybody else before I move on? Okay, thanks once again, Dennis. Thank you for coming. Okay, I'm gonna move on to number 5 on the spot award. Jason Tallman and Evan Gaskell. Do we have a clean copy of that? I would like to read it.
Yes.
There was a couple of changes on there, so nothing substantive, certainly. For those of you that read the News and Citizen over the weekend, you know this front page story. So this is the On the Spot Award. This is for Jason Tallman and Evan Gaskell. On October 17th, 2025, Jason Tallman and Evan Gaskell were dispatched to an active labor with reported crowning and in the final stages of delivery, demonstrating calm, professionalism, and rapid clinical judgment. Jason and Evan immediately assessed the scene for safety, gathered essential obstetric supplies, and provided reassurance and emotional support to the patient. Recognizing the imminent childbirth, Jason and Evan prepared for an out-of-hospital delivery protocols. With precise, steady technique, the responders safely assisted the birth of the infant. Jason and Evan's rapid response, clinical expertise, and composed leadership in a high-stress, time-sensitive obstetric emergency directly resulted in the safe field delivery of a healthy baby and the well-being of the mother. The exceptional performance display reflects the highest standards of EMS professionalism, patient care, and teamwork. So, thank you. Like that. Do you want a motion on this?
Yes.
I'll make a
There is-
motion to approve the presentation of the On the Spot Award to Jason Tallman and Evan Gaskell, did I pronounce it right? In recognition of their service and authorize select board chair to sign.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Laura, second by Leah. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you. And thank you, Jason and Evan, if you are listening or happen to listen to this. Thank you very much. Number 6, options in regards to the discussion for the Cadiz Falls Bridge. So we had staff from the state of Vermont come here a few weeks ago. I think it was might have been a month ago, and talk about Cadiz Falls Bridge and presented 3 options to us. Cadiz Falls Bridge, unfortunately, is in disrepair. It is safe right now, but it may not be safe into the distant future. So the state is looking for us to make a decision. They gave us 3 alternatives. One alternative was a truss rehabilitation. One was a full bridge replacement with a new true truss. And the third alternative was a full bridge replacement with a new bridge. And I know when they were here, they talked about a number of issues. Financially, they talked about the matches and how the matches would be different depending upon the alternative that we chose, and how the matches could be different depending upon whether or not we closed the bridge. And I think tonight the state is looking for us to make a decision so that they can move forward. There are some cost ramifications for the town, but depending upon what we choose to do, in our packet, we've got some of that summarized. We can get up to a 97.5% match from the state, or coverage from the state, which of course is quite substantial. So if we rehabilitate, oh, and by the way, the state engineer is recommending alternative number 2. If we rehabilitate the bridge, they'll pay for 95%. If we leave the road open, they'll pay for 97.5% if we close the road. If we replace the bridge, which is their recommendation, which hopefully would give us a much longer period of time until we have to do this again. I know I brought up with the engineer that we had done this just a few years ago, and I believe it was 2016 that we had done it. That's only 9 years ago. That doesn't sound long, but she did remind us that those repairs were, oh, I'll use the term Band-Aid approach. That might be harsh, but given that it's only been 9 years, maybe that's not harsh. And that's similar to alternative one. So if we did choose that, we might be in the same boat again in another 10 or 15 years. The other option is a replacement of the bridge, replacement with a full truss. The nice aspect to this is if we go with the full truss, we will not have anywhere near, perhaps no considerations in regards to the historic nature of the bridge. If we went for a full bridge replacement and didn't put a truss system in, we could have some further issues with the state in regards to the historic nature of the bridge, and perhaps with other groups as well. But that would be a full replacement. Leaving the road open would be a 90% match or 90% payment from the state. And if we close the road, it would be 95%. I know closing the road up there for people who live in that area is not ideal. There is several miles to go to get around there. If you happen to be the person living in Cadiz Falls who has to get to Stowe or has to go south, that's a significant detour. If you happen to be the person up at Morristown Corners that needs to go north, similarly, that's a significant detour. But it is also a significant savings for the town. So given all that, I'm just kind of going to throw it out to the board to ask some questions or comments or concerns that they might have in regards to making this choice tonight.
Well, just to clarify, if I remind me, the full book, number 2, the full bridge replacement requires that we paint every so often. We're alternate 3 because it's a steel beam bridge. We don't have the painting. Was if I remember correctly, wasn't that a distinction between the two?
There was certainly a discussion of the galvanized metal versus the not. I don't remember that being specific to one alternative or the other, but it would seem like the truss bridge would be the more significant one because there'd be more metal to paint. Significantly more.
I thought steel beam would not get painted, but I could be.
I think the steel beam, and I'm gonna look at Jerry a little bit, but I think the steel beam is talking about how the beam runs underneath the road bed more so than above. Am I, Jerry? Help.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yes, that alternative, the beams are underneath of the pavement, and those beams do get painted, but they're not exposed as much as the overhead truss part. But they still need to be painted. They should still be galvanized so that they last longer. Whatever option is chosen should be galvanized and painted. That provides a much longer life. I've done a lot of research and I've been involved with a lot of structures that the agency that we were doing the work for wanted the Cadillac, and they wanted everything galvanized and painted. And so I learned a lot about that whole process. The painting on top of the galvanization protects the galvanization, because galvanization can still be damaged with road salts and air pollution. So to get a premium Cadillac system, you want something that's galvanized and painted.
So here's the response from the state engineer, because we brought this up. And it's in our packet here, and she said, or they said, the town expressed concern that a new truss could face similar paint failures as the existing bridge. The project team explained, that being the state team, that a galvanized steel truss would minimize future maintenance needs. If the town prefers a green finish, painting over galvanization is possible, but less durable and more costly. Painting over metallized steel is a longer lasting alternative, so there's that aspect that you were talking about.
Thank you, yeah, I knew.
But she did say, or they're saying painting over galvanization is possible, but less durable.
It's just not true. That is not the case. And there are many very learned articles that I can put in touch, provide to you that will tell you that that's just not the case.
So maybe do we need to decide on the painting aspect of this tonight? Is that? The other thing I did want to point out, alternative 1, the bridge would stay the same size. Alternatives 2 and 3 would put that wider bridge in place, which would be much more amenable for the number of cyclists. I know I bike over that bridge many times during the summer, and I don't know about pedestrian traffic, but there's a lot of bicycle traffic across that bridge. So that's worth noting in 2 and 3, but that's irrelevant in regards to the paint issue.
Well, the greater question for me is the metallized steel versus galvanized. And it's not clear in the alternatives matrix from their presentation what alternative 2 provides metallized steel. I'm assuming it provides metallized steel because she's promoting that as more durable. But I guess we can get a motion tonight and I can seek clarification to the select board and to residents.
Is a suggested motion such that the town manager would work with the state?
It just says, motion to identify blank as the town's preferred alternative for the Katy Falls Bridge project with or without road closure. So
alternative 1, 2, or 3, you can pass that motion and then tomorrow I can reach out to them again and say, there's a question about galvanized steel, metallized steel. What we want to confirm that alternative 2, like what's
Correct.
being provided from materials.
So we can make a decision on the alternative tonight, and we can make a decision on the road closure or not tonight.
yes.
And leave us.
I'm sorry, my sense is, correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, is that this motion needs to happen so we can get in the queue for, I believe they were talking about 2031 as the build window. If we start to not do anything, because we've got something that is up for discussion, whether it's the painting or the galvanized steel or whatever that is. And we continue to hold on that before we make any decision, we may fall into 2032, 33, and I don't think I want to do that as long as we can continue to tweak is not the right word, but adjust the specifications to what the state will allow us to adjust, obviously, since they're going to carry the vast majority of the weight of this cost, regardless of open or closed roadway. But if they allow us to at least have input to it, then it seems to me we do need to do something tonight, and that gets us in the queue for 2031, but not necessarily decide every last bolt and screw and every other piece of that.
Yeah, and I would ask the select board not give me the authority to make decisions because this is a big project and I'd rather have the select board informed and have the community informed so that we can make a decision. So if you're thinking about like adding to this motion, I would request that you don't.
Yeah, and I was not suggesting that at all, Brett. All I'm saying is, if we do whatever we choose to do tonight, is that there is a window, I would assume, where you representatives could say, what's the pluses and minuses, and bring that back to us to say, here's what I found out about this versus that, and let us do that part of the job. Absolutely. I'm not looking to put you to be the construction foreman.
Thank you.
Well, and there'll be some cost considerations too that we've got to look at, which it's too early, as she said.
Right.
So.
Just so we know that the cost of closing or not closing the road is approximately $185,000. That's the savings. Which is substantial.
Is it more than that now? We're talking about
The 5%.
yeah, but the new track through trust, I thought was over $5 million.
I'm looking at this, it says 3.694 million. These were the numbers from last time. From the last time she was here. It's alternative two. Is he looking?
So the total on that is 4,200,000.
Down lower, I'm just looking at the bridge cost.
I think it was the engineering.
The total project.
Total project was 5.6.
It's 5, 6, 7.
Okay,
Yeah,
so then the cost of closing that road is even more.
yeah, it is. It's over $250,000
Yeah, it's gonna be over
between
250,000.
the close and not close.
So
Yeah.
substantial amount of money.
That's fine.
Just
So-
like resident input on that, I mean, I don't live there. I'm just leery about really. Stranding. Or, any businesses, that's a major, I'm not sure how to move forward. on that.
Yeah, the detour has been identified as about a 2 to 3 mile detour. I seem to remember she wrote back to us.
3.7 mile detour.
3.7 mile for
Yeah,
some people, right?
Remember that number.
Yeah,
For the entire,
3.7 mile.
the
Oh,
entire construction.
4 months?
then.
6 months? I thought it was a 6-month.
The-
Construction
the
duration.
Entire construction.
Thing, so the closure.
Closure was 4 months.
Closure was 4 months, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there are ways around it, none of them are convenient, but you can use needle eye, which we all know if you've driven needle eye, it's not the most pleasant thing to go through, it's a 1 lane.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
No, but you've got the bypass that is serviceable, it's inconvenient, I'm not gonna express that it's not, the bridge being honest, is gonna be a problem for people around there. But it's doable, and when I start to think about $250,000 difference between 4 months of closure,
Yeah.
it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. While I got the floor, I'm not thrilled with the way this is coming down. That's just a personal gut. It seems to me like I feel like I've been funneled into one choice, and that's the steel truss. The repair to me doesn't apply. It's not lasting.
Alternative one.
Alternative one, just the truss repair. The steel beam bridge with or without the road closure, which is their second alternative, which was maybe $1 million less. And again, you've got the chart and I don't have it currently done. Its total cost is about the middle of the line.
It's $1 million less, the
It's $1 million
total
less.
project cost.
And it's less maintenance because of the things Jerry talked about. But clearly, the representatives the last time talked about the real potential for delays with the historical preservation.
Not only delays, if I may, but potential loss of funding that would increase the cost.
Yeah,
To,
so that's that, I'm not feeling that is a wise economic choice to the citizens of this community. Which leaves us with option 2, which is a $5.6 million bridge, which is state money, which oftentimes we hear, well, that's our money too, and it is. It's depending on whichever way you look at it. If we don't close it, it's 10%, so we're talking about $560,000 ballpark local cost. If it's 5% because we close it, we're looking at roughly $280,000. Now, if you want to say, well, $280,000 for a $5.6 million bridge, it doesn't get much better than that economically. It's just, I feel like I'm being siphoned into it, but I'm willing to make a motion at least to get us somewhere, because I think we've got to do something. I'm sure that the residents in Katie's Falls are not going to be thrilled with this. On the other hand, they are going over a bridge that is safe right now, but won't be for a while. Anybody that's using that for bicycle or pedestrian is not great. I don't like going over that bridge when there's another car coming the other way.
No.
I mean, I almost want to wait and just turn it into a 1-car bridge. So
A lot of people do.
a lot of people do, yeah. So that's the repairs, just to me, not in the game to me. And since option 3, the steel beam bridge, is fraught with delays and alternatives, and additional problems that we can't forecast, and we can't bank that this repair is already starting to go. How many more years are we gonna have? We've got to close that bridge or limit weight loads, and at some point, when do you want to ride over a bridge that people say, you know, you really shouldn't be putting much of a heavy car on this, or a truck?
Yeah.
I'm willing to make the motion around the bridge replacement with a new track through trust. And we can debate whether it's with or without the closure tonight.
And it's still a road that gets a lot of traffic.
Does.
I mean, we all remember what it was like before the bypass was going through, you know, people coming from Stowe, that was the main thoroughfare, that's, everyone took that. Heading up to, you know, Hyde Park and Johnson. From the little bit that I travel it now, I'd say there's still a lot of, you know, there's still significant traffic on that road. The bypass has taken a lot of it away, but it's still.
And from people coming from the south up 100, you can cut off at head towards Morristown Corners, and then work your way back, or just get on the bypass, stay in, go through the village if you want to, or go up on Morristown Corners, and then cut back and get on the bypass. None of it's great, but you can avoid the bridge. A little bit of delay, build in some time. If you're right there, you might choose to go through Katie's, through the needle eye, with what it has, but tightness. But for 4 months, honestly, regardless of which of these we pick, I can't see 280,000 if we're talking about the truss bridge to difference to not close it. That's my opinion.
Right.
I kind of work myself to George's with my notes. The same thing is yes, the option 3 is $1 million cheaper, but when you look at the language in here, it does put us at risk of losing federal funding because we're not honoring a historic aspect. And it comes down to the town money, about $50,000 difference between the two.
Right.
I also made note that the bridge is in an area that we just proposed at the last meeting to be a village center of growth, potential growth. So more population in theory. So I really don't want to have any more delays in addressing the issue. And like Laura, I would like to avoid having to paint the thing again. So is there a way to do alternative 2, but using whichever steel is the appropriate steel?
Nice steel.
You know,
Yeah.
with clarification on galvanized versus metallized steel. But those are the questions that I had in my thoughts. So I landed with alternative 2 as well. And I would also go for closing the road and doing the detour for the length of the season.
I would entertain a motion.
Motion to identify alternative 2 full bridge replacement with new Pratt through truss. And I'm unclear, do we need to add the closure, non-closure in
I
the
think
motion?
I mean,
I think we do. I mean,
we
just
seem to be
for
pretty.
agreement.
Yeah, I
So,
think we are too.
So with the road closure and detour, as the town preferred alternative for the Katy Falls Bridge project, BF 0239 parentheses 3, with road closure and detour.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Lauren, a second by Richard. Thank you. So, George. Who said Richard?
Who said Richard Tom?
I didn't say. George. Sorry about that. Sorry, George.
No problem.
Yeah. I had that coming, didn't I? Okay, any discussion?
I just
You
would
feel
like to let you know, the only feedback really I've gotten, I mean, I've spoken with Jerry. But other than that, is somebody who lives off of Needle Eye Road and very concerned about the increased traffic. And is requesting that the town install traffic lights. So that's something else I'll be looking into with the state. You know, you see those temporary traffic lights on the projects.
I support that. I mean, you driving through Worcester Woods, you get those traffic lights all the time. And for 4 months on that bridge, we could avoid one bad accident, and that would be more than enough. If they're willing to do that, which it's pure safety, especially with a flying bridge like that.
Wonder if the state would be willing to help us out with the cost of that.
I would hope so. I would hope that they would build it into construction. It's probably
Be possible.
yeah,
It's possible.
yeah.
Okay, other discussion? Come on.
Jerry Throne. So I've heard discussion about metallizing, and just to let you know, metallizing is another type of galvanizing process, but it's using zinc-rich paints. And whereas traditional galvanizing is in the steel goes into a vat where the molten zinc is, and it's dipped into the tank. So that's the difference between the two different processes. Generally, they like to do, you can't do, on an existing bridge, you can't do galvanization. You have to take the pieces down and take it to the plant. But you can, on an existing bridge, like if you were considering option one, you can and you would clean all the paint off the bridge, get it down to bare metal, they call it white metal, and then you would apply the metallizing. After the metallizing, it always gets a cover coat, usually an intermediate, and then a top coat. So that's the difference. But
Is it really significant or?
galvanizing has become very expensive because of all the environmental concerns. There are a lot of places that used to do galvanizing that don't do it anymore. So I have been out of the loop for some time, and certainly not familiar with galvanization in this part of the world. Generally, metallizing, if you're going to do metallizing new steel in a fabrication facility, it's kind of like painting, so it's cheaper. Generally,
Yeah.
it would come if for some reason it would be metallized rather than galvanized. Yes, it would come to the site with that. If it's going to have a top coat on it, usually they put a top coat on, but then at certain locations where connections are made, that has to be field touched up, painted. Anyway, I came here tonight having looked at everything with an idea that for alternative one that might make that a little bit more palatable, but and I'll tell you what it was, but basically in light of what everything I've heard here and everybody's concerns and thinking about it a little bit more sitting here, I think alternative one is just not feasible. But let me tell you what my thoughts were before coming in here. And that is, if you chose alternative one, what you could do is put a pedestrian bridge right alongside of it, parallel to it, which happens at a lot of places where bridges are not wide enough. But it doesn't alleviate the problem of just automobile traffic. Whereas, like you said, George, someone's coming the other way, I'd rather stop before I get on the bridge, let them through. So it doesn't alleviate that problem, but it is something that I thought about and was going to propose that if you wanted to consider alternative one, that's one way around it to get safe access for pedestrians and bicycles. But I'm not going to propose that.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay, go ahead.
The question about what type of steel is only if the town prefers a green finish. So that's.
Okay.
Yeah.
This question about whether that was part of the historical.
That's kind of my question is green, can we leave it plain? Or does it need to be painted green to be historically accurate?
Are there any other questions you want me to ask? Because I hadn't thought of that one, so I'm going to write that down. But
yeah,
Okay. It's funny, Leah, that Don cited it before, in the document that we've all got on page 16, that's paint system and maintenance. It says, if the town prefers, so this is the state speaking, if the town prefers a green finish.
Right.
Painting over galvanization is possible, but less durable, a little more costly. We've talked about the rest of this. So they didn't raise this around historical need at all. They're saying, if you want to paint it green, go ahead, but it's gonna have these issues.
Right.
So I don't know that we need to paint it green. Other than it's gonna be painted according to Jerry in some way, or else it starts to oxidize and do its thing.
Like Bridge Street.
Like Good Street, right?
This is a galvanized steel truss would minimize future maintenance.
It
needs.
increases the life by a factor of approximately 50%, if I remember correctly. So
What increases?
adding paint over the top of either galvanization or metallizing. And the reason for that is because, especially for a bridge where you have all the road salts that are so corrosive that those road salts will attack the galvanization. So you need to protect the galvanization. That's what the paint does. That's why it's recognized that if you have what they call as a duplex system, because you have the galvanization, and I'm going to say galvanization or metallizing. It's both. I'm calling that galvanization. You have that, and then you have the paint protecting that. So that's a duplex system. If you look it up, Google duplex systems. It's recommended. It's a more expensive system, but it's a Cadillac. And if you're going to go through this, in my opinion, especially for an overhead truss, because all that road salt sprays out. Every time the cars go by, it sprays out onto the truss. And not only that, but it drips down off of the roadway underneath. So the most protection you can give the steel, the longer it'll last.
Thanks, Jerry.
We're committing ourselves to the future boards, future administration, future road crews. Get more work on that bridge to maintain it over longer life.
Yeah.
That's what we're in essence initiating tonight. We go there, and I'm not saying we haven't had a choice really, but 50% survival rate, 50% extended rate on it. It's crazy not to, but we can't. We or people sitting on seats in the future can't go, well, we can't afford to paint bridges yet because we're just going to start to pay the price.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion. Everyone clear with the motion? Alternative 2, bridge closure?
With the bridge closure.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you. Okay, new business number 7. A few weeks ago, we decided that we would tackle the local options tax one aspect at a time, and we agreed that November 3rd would be the first of the 4 conversations that we were going to have, and tonight's about rooms. And at our meeting with Jeff Carr, he did present some numbers for us in regards to the local options tax. In regards to rooms for a town like Morrisville is perhaps the least bang for our buck, so to speak. We don't have a good handle on short-term rentals. And we do have some numbers from, it's interesting that he chose 2020 for his numbers. I mean, if there was a year when rooms receipts would be their lowest, it was 2020, because 2020 was the very, very beginning of the pandemic and nobody was traveling, or very few people were traveling. So things are at their lowest at that point. I have been able to track down, and he did that because that was the last year that things were available. So he didn't choose it for any particular reason except for that it was the last year. It's interesting that if he had have chosen 2019, the numbers are quite a bit higher. So the numbers that we're looking at here in his table are certainly minimums. And I think for example, 2019, the rooms tax in Morrisville generated $1.1 million. 1.1 million in 2020, 680,000. It's not half, but you know, it's getting close to half. It's about 60% of that, or 65% of that. But regardless, the 2019 would generate somewhere in the order of $8,000 in receipts. $2019 would generate somewhere in the order of about $8,000 in receipts for us. And I think it could be argued, I think it could be safely argued that the rooms receipts in 2025, or we're not going to see 2025, but the receipts in 2026 and 27 are going to be greater. I think we would all agree that short-term rentals have taken off in town in the last 5 or 6 years. For whatever reason, we can blame the pandemic or thank the pandemic, however you want to look at that. But I think those numbers are up. I also think that, and I think the board agrees, you know, that this is, when it comes to rooms receipts, now we're really, really talking about out of town money. We're talking about non-resident money. We're talking about people coming from other towns in Vermont, other states in the United States, and other countries around the world. Maybe we don't have a lot of people in that last category, but the point is that when it comes to the local options tax, we've been making the argument about how this is an opportunity to garner revenue for this town that we as Morristown residents, taxpayers, would not be on the hook for, or would be on the hook for very, very little. So I know in my mind, this one seems like a bit of a no-brainer, but maybe I'm missing something. But I'd open it up for conversation with the board.
I'll start then. So let me make sure I'm understanding properly. When we talk about rooms, we're talking about motels, hotels, and short-term rental.
Correct.
That's the three we're talking about.
Yep.
Okay, so motels and hotels are gonna be fair, check me with when my thinking is wrong. Motels and hotels are gonna be fairly easy to calculate because they're running through, that's right through their books. Short-term rentals, I don't know how many, I don't know the name of those, how many of those rentals are being handled privately by the owner of the short-term rental or by a local realty agency. But my guess is most of those are on national websites like VRBO and Airbnb and all the others that pop up. And they would in fact be the ones collecting the 1% rooms tax if we move this forward and the town voted for it.
Correct. Yep.
So the
And
collection,
sending that to the state.
Which probably I'm not very clear on. Jeff talked about the fee structure and he talked about the number of documents that went through it, like $5 a document that they were processing. But if VRBO Airbnb is processing a Morristown bulk, they're not going to do this one at a time. They're going to do this a week, a month, or whatever. So collection there would not have a tremendous negative impact on the net that we collect. So far, my tracking.
I think you're accurate. Yes.
Okay. So I agree. I think this is one that I would want to see before the voters, certainly. Because it is, Don, you're right. I don't know if anybody, unless you're renting for someone's coming, you know, from afar, you're the one who's going to sign up for this and do it as a gift. Then, well, then, yeah. But for the most part, no. These are tourists, not non-residents, not the people in Elmore and Wolcott. These are clearly tourists that are coming and want to spend some time in this area. And for whatever reason, they're choosing here rather than Stowe or anyplace else. And that would be the presentation of the short-term rental responsibility. So I don't see this one as problematic in the resident, non-resident discussion. Because it's clearly there are people from afar.
First of all, we don't have, the only motel we have is for snowmobilers, which again, I don't know that, and the prices are low, but I definitely see, this as not affecting the locals. And the fact that, and you know, and there are most of the revenue that's being generated from these significant, they're listed on the big ones. There may be some other little ones that somebody's doing, but you know, it's, to me, this goes back to the registry. It's so minimal, it's not worth chasing personally. You know, but the ones that are on the big ones, so it's right out there. So I think, personally, I think it's a really good entry way that doesn't affect the locals. It's not as much money, but as I learned from my finance person in 101 in college, we start getting that money and start squirreling it away and let it start working on its own, that when we get to where we need it, we'll have a chunk of money. And it's also, I think, a good intro to the LOT, so to kind of get people acclimated to how it works and not be overwhelmed by that it's, you know, it's just all these things. And I will say, I've talked with a lot of people, but I talked with the folks up in Montgomery, who they're one of the few that are actually rescinding their LOT. So I called him to say, why are you rescinding it? And it was really interesting. And one of the things he said was theirs was done for a very specific project, first of all. And so he encouraged us with whatever we do that that you make it, and there's a sunset on it, that what you're collecting it for has a sunset. So there's a very specific, he said that makes it much more palatable for people, which I thought was a good comment. And that in their case, their project was done. But you know, and so that's why they were rescinding it on theirs. They also had a sale, but that's another thing. Anybody curious where the money goes that we send to the state? I was. So I researched it. And I will say, one of the things he said was that we used to send 30% to the state, and that Montgomery and other people went to the state. And it turns out that the money that we send to the state is actually put in a very specific fund also. And what was interesting is that that money is divided back, because if we have state properties in our town, which it turns out we have 26, Tyler says we have 26, that money goes back to the towns to cover the property tax, because those 26 properties, state-owned, are not generating any property tax. So they use that money to go back to the towns to help cover that loss of property tax. So that was very interesting to me, that I didn't know that. So, and consequently, that fund has a lot of money in it. So that is why all the towns work together to get it reduced. So now we only send 25%. And according to the folks in Montgomery, that they're actually working to get that reduced lower, so that we would keep a higher percentage. So that's a bigger conversation, but I thought it was interesting, you know, so people can understand. So there's actually a little better payback. But I think that, again, the rooms, because, and I did ask him about the fees on the paperwork. He said it was pretty minimal, that they didn't notice a huge hit. So that, you know, because that was concerned $5 a document. So I think this would be a really good start for us to evaluate all of this. And so, and to take any kind of fears away and have really solid data going forward.
I agree with everything that's been said so far. I too talked to some folks that operate Airbnbs, and they're concerned, of course, because anything that lessens the competitiveness of their rates, they're concerned. And I said, well, all the towns around us, for the most part, have this already. So it's not like you're not going to be comparable. And whatever you charge, 300 a night, whatever, it's $3. I don't think someone's gonna change over $3. So we did have that conversation. I think the sunset clause would also help because we can test it, see what happens and see if it works for us. So, but I think it's an easy entry. It's a no-brainer. It's revenue that's available, and it's the one that is by far not affecting Vermonters the most.
Or Morrisvilleites or Morristownites.
Correct.
Thank you. Any comments from the audience?
Martin Green. I agree with all the perspectives expressed by the board tonight. The one thing that I am thinking about, several of you have mentioned that it wouldn't hurt the local population, wouldn't put any pressure. And I mean, I just think that, I mean, say if somebody's spending $1,000 coming here, I mean, what is that? That's $10 total? I mean, to me, I don't, it's hard for me to imagine that if people are traveling, that's going to be a deal breaker. I mean, $1 or $5 or $3 or $10 on a total bill. So I don't see that being prohibitive to travelers and people that are going to be seeking lodging. So I agree. I think it's a great idea, great way to start. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the record, that was Martin Green. Thank you. Any other comments? Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry Throne. I did some research, same as you, Laura, and found out the same information. And then there's one other thing I'd like to let you know that I found out about, which is the $5 per document. What that is most businesses will remit their taxes to the state every month. Usually it's every month. So that's $5 for each business. So if you have 10 businesses that remit once a month, you're looking at $50 that comes off of what we would get. So that's what that is. Elmore has a rooms tax. A lot of the communities around here have rooms tax. I'm in favor of a rooms tax. I think it's not going to matter to anybody who wants to come and stay in a room, whether they pay 1% more. And I know we're not going to talk about the other local options taxes tonight, but I guess there'll be other nights for that. And I'll save my other comments for those nights.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Other comments? Yeah, come on up.
Carol Lauber, I would like to say that I am for the local option tax for the rooms. There are people that are here, they're using our infrastructure. It puts wear and tear on our infrastructure. And so they're being part of maintaining that. Well, Laura, when you say you talked to folks at Montgomery, who was it that you spoke? The chair of the select board. Okay. And then, okay. And then the process where my understanding is that this money is collected, it goes to the state, and then the state sends it back to us. So when you were talking about the percent that we send them, was this something not about local option tax? Was this something else?
Yeah, it's just the 25% that we don't get back.
So
But we're not actually sending them any money in this process. So that's kind of a procedural, like how much of our time people here in the town take up.
Yeah, we get 75%. We get 75% back,
Mhm.
whatever is generated in town, minus these transaction fees that Jerry is talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's no work on us at all.
Mhm.
But what I was saying was of that 25% that they keep. That goes into a fund that they then funnel back to the towns to cover the state properties, which we have 26 of. So that was, so it's not like going to, something that, that we don't benefit from. This was the
Mhm.
thought. I was surprised by that. I assumed it was some state project, but that it actually does come back to us as a direct, and that it's money that is money we're not allowed to generate, so. But that's why I say the rooms, that'll be a good way for us to see what the numbers really are. How much do they send back to us of that 25%? You know,
There's a name for that program. I want to say the pilot program. Pilot
Gave us
program.
a little effect.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
that's exactly it.
It's been around for a while.
Thank you, Carol. Anybody else? I don't see a need for a motion tonight. I think unless somebody wants to make a motion, but I think we're going to, at some time in the future, be making motions as we get ready for town meeting day. And I think we're all in, I'm certainly in agreement that we are going to bring this to the taxpayers and let the taxpayers decide, let the voters decide. But we don't need to make a motion tonight in regards to this. Okay, thank you.
Put it on the warrant. You think that, but I don't think you need an official motion.
I think we're in agreement right now to move this towards a
Say we're in
vote,
agreement.
a town meeting. Yeah.
So what Larry was bringing up, and I've had friends doing Airbnbs, and I've had a lot of friends get out of Airbnb because the reality is we oftentimes are second choice to Stowe, and if Stowe fills up, they flow over. But one of the things that people have commented on is that it is hard to get the price up when you're in Morrisville. So there is some price pressure,
There is price pressure.
you know. So I understand that, but again, I think when someone's looking, that the amount is so minimal that I mean, so they're gonna go to Elmore and, I mean, they can go to Hardwick, because Hardwick doesn't have rooms, but. You know, I think when they're looking at proximity, because most of them are coming for Stowe or for rec, I mean, ideally, we're gonna build up such a huge rec program, bike stuff, that they're gonna come here to bike and recreate. So that will boom our business and we'll all be. That would be positive.
Yeah.
So,
I would like, if you wouldn't mind asking Sarah, ideally, when she would like all this. Whether it's just this one or we're going through each section of LOT, what ideally for the town clerk, when would she ideally like us to be clear and have motions so that she can get it on the ballot in a fashion that's not rushed?
Middle of January would be a drop dead date.
Yeah, I think I actually was working on this.
Sorry, I didn't put you in the spot.
No, I just need the calendar. I think you're gonna. At the January.
Sarah Haskins, Town Clerk. January 20th is the last day. That's the day you're going to review the warning. So we would need the information before that to get to you for that meeting. And then you'll actually approve it the week after at a special meeting. But yeah, the beginning of January.
so a question I have for everybody is that, if we did make a motion to let it go to vote, then it kind of cleans it up for us as far as, you know, we've had the discussion, and I think this is the shorter one. So that now we can move on to the two bigger ones. But my understanding and what I'm thinking I'm hearing is that we've decided that, I mean, especially on this one, that it's going to vote. So to me, it seems like we could go ahead and make the motion that we're not saying, yes, we want this, but we're saying we want the voters to decide.
Yeah.
So I'm good with making a motion to.
Sorry.
The key part of what would be on the ballot, though, is we have to have the other part of it, which is how the town would spend the money. And I think that's gonna be as robust a discussion as.
But that's a different article.
Is it a different article? I think it's the same.
That's really up to us, I guess. It could be a separate article. It could be the same article. I mean, I could envision an article that is in regards to the rooms LOT, and that same article says how we're gonna spend it. the rooms LLT money, or how it would be spent. But I could also see each of the LLTs being voted upon separately and all three of them feeding into the same allocation or any combination thereof.
It just seems like to me, and you guys, that it would be separate because you don't want it to get, if people don't want it to know where it goes. If they don't like it, they're gonna vote against the tax. So,
I would want to read the law.
yeah, we need to guess.
I would want to, because I think it's a two-part. You have to have the type of tax, it's together, but that was my reading. I'd have to go back.
I guess if we were gonna make a motion, all our motion would be is some intent.
Yeah.
What we intend to do, there wouldn't be any specificity to it at all. Go ahead, George, I'm sorry.
No, I can cut it. I didn't mean to do that. The third piece would be, how is this motion structured, whatever motion it is, so there's. Are we doing the rooms? That's to me, in my mind. If there are multiple. Components of the LOT that we want put before the voters, that each one has their own article. So they're not all melded into one yes or no. And that for each of them might have a target to fund. Each of them might have a sunset clause on them. And I would hate to get ahead of that until we have more conversation. I think you're right, Laura, we're all in the same place. Everybody's okay with the rooms tax. But we want those articles to read as similarly as possible and structured in the same way. So that they basically help inform the voter when they're looking at the ballot, whether it's the mail-in ballot or the ones that are posted on the wall. If the first time they look at it is when they come and actually pick up a ballot down meeting day, that they don't have to. They have to reread. They have to read each of those articles, assuming there's more than one, for its own intent. But that they read the same, but the contents of how they work, it varies depending on the sunset, depending on the target of the funds that are being raised. And I'd like to see those standardized in whatever the appropriate format is.
I think we need the format, but we need to know whether, is it included or is it a separate?
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, I don't think we're ready for a motion right now. And nor do we necessarily need to do one either. Yeah, we have the time. Yeah, no, it's good question. Okay, if there's no other discussion, I'm gonna move on. Okay, hearing none. So that's it for new business. Under old business, we found out right before the meeting tonight that Robin would be unable to be here. So he has requested that we move the conveyance of the land to Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity discussion to the next meeting, which would be November 17th. So I'm going to ask the board, are we okay if we just table this until then?
Yes, I mean.
But head nod all the way across. Okay, so approve the warrants. I would entertain a motion.
Here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's make a motion to approve the warrants.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion by George and a second by Laura. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the warrants, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Upcoming schedule, as I've just alluded to, on the 17th, we'll have a regular select board meeting, and then Monday, December 1st will be our first December select board meeting. Other business, executive session.
I have a motion to enter into executive session and find that premature general public knowledge regarding legal matters would clearly place the town at a substantial disadvantage by disclosing information related to a probable litigation.
I have a motion by Laura. I have a second.
I second.
So motion by Laura, second by Leah. Any discussion?
No. Not yet.
All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Go ahead.
Motion to enter into executive session to discuss legal matters under the provision of Title 1, Section 313, parentheses, A, 1E of the Vermont statutes to include Brett Raymond, Town Manager, Judy Alberry, Executive Assistant, and Adele Taplin, Economic and Community Development Director.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Laura, second by George. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. We are in executive session. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.